I'm Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., and this is how to get your money right. Jonathan Jacob, Wale Coaxum, welcome to How to Get Your Money Right.
Thank you very much for having us.
Financial literacy, money, getting on a path toward wealth building, all these are issues facing not only communities of color, but all Americans. John, you with Wells Fargo.
Yes.
And I understand you're on the board of Mochify.
Privileged to work with Wale.
Tell us how this intersection happened.
Absolutely. So gotten to know Wale over the last few years, and as you mentioned, have the opportunity to sit with him and his board members as they set the strategy for Mochify. But a lot of my role is working with Wells Fargo groups around the bank, thinking of what are ways that we can show up alongside Mochify, extending the impact, looking at the innovative things that Mochify is doing, saying, how can we collaborate day in, day out?
So Wale, how important is it for you and your company to have this relationship with a bank like Wells Fargo?
Oh, it's super important. It's very important. It's been a real pleasure, quite frankly, to have the deep engagement and involvement of Wells Fargo. So let me tell you a little story. So my first boss out of college is the current CEO of Wells Fargo. And we've had a chance to work together over the last 30 years or so. And when he joined Wells Fargo, I reached out. He's been a mentor and a friend, and he knew what we were doing, and he said, Wale, how can Wells Fargo be helpful in the development of your company? And he put together a group of people, senior leaders within Wells Fargo, and said, well, this is your kitchen cabinet. As you think about how to build a financial services company that's focused on the bottom third of the pyramid, rely on us as a thought partner. And that transformed into being able to get ideas that evolved into an investment from Wells Fargo in our company. It manifests itself in terms of, if you have a Mochify card, you can go to a Wells Fargo ATM machine and get money out for free. And so we've just been able to really become a better company with the opportunity to work with Wells Fargo. And then at the same time, Wells Fargo's commitment to diversity, hiring really talented individuals like Erica Miles and others, has enabled the conversation between Wells Fargo, Mochify, and other companies to be such that we're adding value to their conversation and their business as they add value to our business and strengthen our offering to products and services.
So Jonathan and Wale, going back to you first, Jonathan, I think you've been in the field 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, North Carolina is a great city. In your career, how important it is to either have a mentor or know how to mentor somebody else, building these relationships. I know as entrepreneurs, one of the keys to being a good entrepreneur is learning how to build relationships, having a lot of good social skills, as well as the academic or the literary competence in the parlance of finance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that one of the first executives that I worked under early in my career commented on the importance of going out and pursuing skill sets in what you don't know, building a complementary skill set. And kind of fast forward to one of the things that I do at Wells Fargo, I lead our strategy with minority depository institutions. Mm-hmm. When we put together the team that evaluated, executed on $50 million in investments, we had people from across the institution, and you picked up on the importance of very different skill sets, but understanding the importance of not just, okay, let's find the black banks that we're going to support, but let's learn about their strategy. Let's find the banks that we can partner with and be a sounding board that we can mentor their growth, stabilize them, because ultimately it's the communities that they're serving that we want to stand behind and strengthen.
What the communities want is universal. We want to send our kids to college. We want to have money to start that first business. We want a safe place to live where we can raise our families and create new memories.
It appears that partnership between Wells Fargo and Mochify is really working. This is how to get your money right. So, Wally, I'm gonna ask you, not 10 steps, what's the first step of how to get your money right?
First step is being honest with yourself about where you are financially. And maybe if I can go step 1B, find somebody to talk to about it, right? I think so many times we find ourselves embarrassed, ashamed, or scared. And the reality is we need to at least be honest with ourselves in terms of where we stand financially. And sometimes having a conversation with a friend about that, who you trust, can help you. Because then once you sort of identify that they're where you are, then you can start to think about what the solutions might be to move forward.
Jonathan, is diversity good for business?
Absolutely.
Can you explain why you say that?
Absolutely. I think the mantra of the woman who leads our group, diverse business is good business. And the group that I sit in within our corporate and investment bank is a diverse segments platform. Our goal is to maximize client outcomes by granting greater access to the capital markets, creating partnerships that are focused on serving diverse clients and the communities they serve. So we think of that as critical to developing long-term business relationships and bringing the full suite of services we have in our investment bank to the diverse clients we serve. As I mentioned, my role is leading our strategy with minority depository institutions, and there's approximately 150 across the United States. We want to be able to bring client connections, make sure that companies know there's banks right in your city that you can be working with. And we've had really good progress because clients want to figure out what is a better way that we can engage, because at the end of the day, we want to strengthen the community.
You know, in America today, the browning of America is a reality, not a projection, a current reality. So, Wale, how do you see a society that increasingly is becoming multicultural, multiracial, multilingual? Is the financial industry adjusting, welcoming the growing diversity in our nation?
So I think the financial services industry has a huge opportunity to do better. And the reality is the financial institutions have been able to do very, very well in a particular segment of the population that hasn't broadly included Black and brown people. But as any business leader knows, the key to success is growth. And so to look at the browning of America as an opportunity to grow your customer base, to grow your top line revenue, to bring in more products and services that can help these communities build businesses, buy homes, take care of their families, is going to require some real intentionality. And that's one of the things I like about Wells Fargo, is they're being very intentional and saying, hey, we can provide these products and services through our platform, or we can partner with the MDIs that Jonathan is responsible for, or the fintechs that are able to partner with Wells Fargo to say, it's a big tent, and we need different kinds of providers within that tent to bring the products and services to the Black and brown communities, because there is a market there. And what the communities want is universal. We want to send our kids to college. We want to have money to start that first business. We want a safe place to live where we can raise our families and create new memories.
Want to own your home.
Want to own your home, right? And so that is a wonderful intersection between making our society stronger, using financial services as a way to do that, and broadening the number of players to who can provide it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So it would be insanity for us to expect a different result with the current way that we're delivering financial services. So it really is important and incumbent upon players like Wells and others to think differently, use their platform, expand the possibilities of who can participate, and that's going to make for a stronger economy.
That's very interesting. So you see the door opening.
Absolutely.
So, Jonathan, in terms of Wells Fargo, what is your forecast in terms of the importance of home ownership and you working with Mocha, if it's true that one of the most secure steps toward wealth building is to own that first home or own other properties? How do you two work together to enhance first-time homeowners?
I think what Will has talked about with his platform and what really excites us about it is their place-based approach. So we had the opportunity to partner with them on some of their On Our Block programming, and having that kind of connection in community, demystifying some of those initial steps so people can understand, here's the path that I need to work towards for home ownership. It shouldn't be something that is an aspirational goal so far out of reach, but here are the resources, here are the building blocks. That's what, if you talk about forecast, these kinds of partnerships are breaking down some of those barriers. Ultimately, you want to be able to say, we're able to have greater impact. It's fantastic from a wealth building perspective, but that's where you can have, a generational difference.
On Our Block.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about On Our Block.
So On Our Block is really our way of bringing our financial education, literacy, coaching to different communities across the country. And we started by saying, okay, we're one of the largest platforms where people receive universal basic income. We've worked with the largest universal basic income programs in Los Angeles, LA County, St. Louis. We've done probably about a dozen or so. We said, okay, it's not just enough for individuals to receive the UBI. It's also important to provide financial literacy and education to folks. So we did these pop-ups where we would bring in speakers, a little food, some music, and talk about whatever was relevant. Setting up your first checking account and balancing that. How do you improve your credit score? Sort of our version of Get Your Money Right. And then what we figured out was, oh, it's not enough to have a one-time conversation. How can we drive ongoing engagement with the individual? And so we created an app called the On Our Block app. And we were able to take financial literacy content that we developed in partnership with Wells Fargo.
And the app is On Our Block, O-N?
O-N.
Right.
O-U-R-B-L-O-C-K.
Right. Because I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm
yeah,
kind of a wordsmith.
Yeah.
I would like to see On Our Block come to be owning our block. In, thinking about where you live and owning where you live, there's a whole different nuance. If you actually own where you opening that door, where you own the yard space, if you have yard space. I again, work with a lot of hip hop artists. And it was a famous song called The Concrete Jungle, where in the concrete jungle, it's just a lot of concrete, but we don't own it. We live in it, but we don't own it. So it seems to me there's a transformation going on, of an opportunity for transformation, where people even in the inner cities can conceive and perceive ways to start owning the block.
And I would just build on that. Well said. It's not just owning the properties on the block, but it's also owning the businesses on the block.
Yes.
Because you own the business on the block, that's creating jobs for people on the block. So we may come back to you with an own our block strategy, and we can come back and talk about that the next time we're together.
Well, let's go keep it on I'm glad you made a statement about businesses, minority-owned businesses, in this case, African-American-owned businesses. I know Wells Fargo also has an outreach to help sustain businesses who are owned by communities of color. Talk to me, Jonathan, about how you perceive the importance of owning your own business.
It's critically important. I'd say it's hand in hand with home ownership in terms of wealth building. As Wole mentioned, the opportunity to have outsized community impact, employing and scaling. Ultimately, you want to be able to say, we're able to have greater impact. It's fantastic from a wealth building perspective, but that's where you can have, a generational difference.
If people go to On Our Block website, is there information there about investments, home ownership? Just describe the panoply of categories of information.
So we have just that. So you go to On Our Block, download the app, you'll provide some basic information about yourself, what you're interested in, and then we have conversations around different topics: home ownership, investment, managing your money, balancing your checkbook. But then we go one more, where you can set up some time with a financial coach or a financial advisor, and you can have access to more information, all free of cost. And what's so wonderful in terms of building that app, we did it with another African-American-owned fintech company, Wealthy. And so we're trying to not just provide information, and which what we're doing, and that's what you'll get on Our Block, but we're also trying to use our platform to provide other African-American-owned fintechs the opportunity to expand their reach and have impact on community. So just imagine, you put $1 in, invest, 5 years later, you've got $2. Now you can just multiply that by $100 you put in, $200, $500, but that's the power of compounding, which I think with over an extended period of time, which young people have the benefit of, taking advantage of that is the most powerful idea in finance.
What would you say to young people today, Jonathan, how they can help get their money right?
I think it's starting early. I'm not saying it's 10 years into my career when I start investing. It's taking small steps and developing habits, taking advantage of significant resources that are out there, that asking tough questions of, hey, I just don't understand how this part of the investment universe works. You can't just avoid it. So, closing that information gap and starting to build those blocks.
Wale, same question. What would you recommend to the youth of the day of how they can get their money right?
So I think the opportunity I'm a big proponent of investing. They should get the basics, right? Understand how to balance a checkbook, understand how to make a deposit with their paycheck in such a way that they don't have to go to a check casher. They can put it into a safe and sound, secure bank account, whether it's online first or brick and mortar, both are terrific. Once you get the basics, I really want to double click on Jonathan's idea. Time is a wonderful asset. And if you make an investment, I don't care if it's $1, $5, or $100, the power of compounding is one of the most compelling ideas. And the power of compounding is if I invest and I get 5 to 8, 10% return on average year in and year out, I call that making money while you're sleeping. And so you make an investment and make smart investments in terms of high quality companies, or don't even worry about it. Buy an index fund, buy an ETF. And if you look at that return over time and you just set it and forget it, that $1 will grow to $10. So make it more real for you. If you invest and get 15% return every year, over 5 years, that money will double. So just imagine, you put $1 in, invest, 5 years later, you've got $2. Now you can just multiply that by $100 you put in, $200, $500, but that's the power of compounding, which I think with over an extended period of time, which young people have the benefit of, taking advantage of that is the most powerful idea in finance.
We've invested $50 million in equity investments in 13 Black-owned banks, and at the end of the day, making sure that they were better capitalized to grow, because that's going to be the way they serve their communities.
So, Jonathan, I'm going to ask you about the policy and the commitment of Wells Fargo to invest in minority-owned businesses, diversity-owned businesses. I know that you work with the Black Bankers Association, but tell us specifically Wells Fargo commitment to invest in African-American-owned businesses.
Absolutely. So in addition to fintech investments like our investment in Mochify, we've invested $50 million in equity investments in 13 Black-owned banks across
$50 million?
That's correct.
That's a lot of money.
We're excited to support them, and now we've brought many multiples of that in terms of loan deposit capital, strengthening those banks. When we leaned in and tried to plan our approach, we worked with the National Bankers Association. I know Nicole Elam was a guest on Chavis Chronicles.
That's right.
She and her team have worked with us over the years, making sure that the MDIs know where to go within Wells Fargo. If you need to figure out lending, technical assistance, we're one-stop shop, making sure that we can strengthen them in what they do. But that equity capital was non-voting, strong Tier 1 capital, and at the end of the day, making sure that they were better capitalized to grow, because that's going to be the way they serve their communities.
That's really good to know, because a lot of businesses having capital investment, it takes them to another level, or absence of being able to find capital, have access to capital, the business doesn't make it.
That's right.
Wale, I know that you're all over the United States working, but there's a particular project in Leimert Park in Los Angeles. Tell us about that.
So we're so excited about that work, and it really was made possible because of the great support from Wells Fargo. So Leimert Park, as you know, is a African-American mecca, if you will, within Los Angeles of arts and business. And so we had a on our block session there where we were able to work with a Black-owned business that was able to purchase its building thanks to the help of Wells Fargo. So again, the wealth creation happens not just what you sell, but where you sell it. And so the On Our Block was bringing the community together to talk about financial literacy, education. We were able to put together a financial literacy segment with Wells Fargo that we made available to all the participants, and at the same time brought them into the Black-owned business and that they own the land. But we were able to bring people to Leimert Park to become customers and create awareness for the Black-owned businesses in that corridor. We were able to provide them education in terms of how they might become business owners or homeowners, and as well as figure out how they can get their money right in terms of the resources that we have, Wells Fargo has, and other financial services, so they can move themselves forward.
Very good. Well, you know, this whole relationship between Wells Fargo and Mochify, that's a great model. And we hope that this can be replicated all over America. There's a lot of opportunity out there. So, Jonathan Jacob from Wells Fargo, we thank you for your commitment. And Wale Coaxum, the founder and CEO of Mochify, thank you for joining How to Get Your Money Right.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.